The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kids traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now, the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent. Shalom, Salama, Siemi, Shalom. Greetings to all of my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house. Welcome this morning. I am your host, Covenant Awakenings, on day 17 of the war. Day 17 of the war. All right, so I had to bring in those dramatic effects. Boy, oh boy, it came on Shabbat. Now I'm back. Monday, March 16th, which promises to be a very interesting week. This is summer. This is their Ides of March. This is their time in which they are trying to really, I wouldn't say figure it on out. I think, and that's not I think. We are given very great, clear instructions via the word when you are seeing prophecy being fulfilled. And part of that fulfillment, and I have to say, in the midst of all the war, you have to really understand there are different things that's occurring as things begin to unfold. Please give me a second. I'm trying to pull this article up. I think this is the best way to do this. Unfortunately, a lot of things that I'd like to share, it's now being censored with paywalls and everything else, so you won't get a good, clean version of different things. But here's this from ex-Sahel revolutionary soldier says, Ghana is set to file a resolution at the United Nations on March 25th, 2026, to have the transatlantic slave trade declared as one of the greatest crimes against humanity. President John Mahama has led the African Union's call for reparations, demanding the former colonial powers provide compensation for the injustices of slavery and colonialism. Speaking on behalf of the president during an engagement with Jamaica's Prime Minister, Ghana's Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa said, the goal of this push is to ensure reparations, restitution, and justice for Africans who suffered from the slavery. So now you're starting to see this going on. I always ask the question, why now? And I would say, doesn't this seem just a little too coordinated? When all of these things are happening really all at once. Now, at the end of the day, that was all also a lot of the grumblings that was going on. But I want to turn the attention from the UN and Africa. That is going to have an impact. Don't get that twisted. It's going to have an impact. This is from The Guardian. Trump says U.S. may strike Iran's Karg Island oil export hub just for fun. Who talks like this? Who actually talks like this? We're going to strike it just for fun. In comments to NBC News, U.S. President also deflates hope of deal with Tehran, saying terms aren't good enough. Well, Iran doesn't want a deal, so it doesn't really matter what Trump has stated. It's just now, and this is always for them folks. We already know what the deal is. Yeah, the dragon does talk like that, Pastor Rick. Donald Trump said on Saturday that the United States may carry out more strikes on Iran's vital Karg Island oil export hub just for fun, rejecting the prospect of a swift peace deal with Tehran. There wasn't a swift peace deal with Tehran anyway. So you have to look at the narratives that are in place. The terms aren't good enough yet. Okay. He has no terms. They're not winning. Because we're going to go down into here. And it's been proven that Mujtaba Khamenei is actually alive. And we'll discuss some folks that may not be alive. I want to come on down here. We're going to be sweeping the strait very strongly. And we believe we'll be joined by other countries who are somewhat impeded, and in some cases impeded from getting the oil. Trump said. The United States of America has beaten and completely decimated Iran, both militarily, economically, and in every other way. But the countries of the world that receive oil through the Strait of Hormuz must take care of that passage and we will help a lot. Yep, just tell that to the Asian ships that listen to Trump. Nobody's going to listen. So this is coming from his Truth Social post. He added, the U.S. will also coordinate with those countries so that everything goes quickly, smoothly, and well. This should have always been a team effort, and now it will bring the world together toward harmony, security, and everlasting peace. This literally is the cutout from the Bible. You can't make this on up. This is all of everything that we've read. When they say peace, peace, and security, what is that? When they say peace, that's the Thessalonians, right? The sudden destruction follows. But he later declined to say whether the U.S. Navy would be escorting ships. I don't want to tell you anything about that, he told NBC, because now you're starting to see that even Navy commanders, soldiers, are pushing back on this whole effort. Said Trump's assertion that the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz should be resolved through a team effort could be seen as somewhat of a pivot from his earlier position that Operation Epic Fury was a U.S. shore force alongside Israel that didn't require international permission. The president also expressed in the interview that U.S. allies in the Gulf have been targeted by Iran. These countries got shot at unnecessarily. He told NBC, describing Iran's decision to target them as the biggest surprise I had to this whole thing. Okay. I think the blatant level of delusion and disregard is really abysmal. Even though we know how this thing plays out, what it's supposed to look like, how it's supposed to look, this to me is the most cartoonish type of outcome that you can have. It's almost to me like, when they were saying that the Pentagon was going to be very much integrated with AI. This feels like, to me, it's like, did the AI script take over? Somebody explain that to me. Did the AI script take over? Because there are some things that I'm still trying to figure on out. That you were going to go through and not just close the Strait of Hormuz, but in doing so, sabotage, yes, sabotage the world economy. The global economy has been sabotaged. This is from TRT World. This is all within the hour. Strait of Hormuz closure by Iran has slashed oil shipments, fueling record high prices, energy shortage, and global market instability across Asia, Europe, and the U.S., even as Tehran continues to move crude through alternative channels amid the crisis. Iran is good. The only people more than likely that's hurting has been Europe and some parts of Asia. They can reroute things through other ports, i.e., the Caspian Sea. They can reroute through Pakistan and other places. Week 3 of Hormuz closure. Well, it's not closed, right? According to our government officials. Washington has tried everything. No, it hasn't. Because to me, they really want to inflate the problem because it's like this. If we go down, when we go down, everybody else is going to go down with us. And now people are going down. Now, I would like to see what will be that first nation that will literally tank. Their economy will literally tank. And don't think that that's not going to happen in the near dear future. Oh, it definitely will happen. As we're seeing things going on, someone had asked back on Saturday about this, about these videos. I'm just going to say things look let me share this. Let me share this if y'all haven't seen this yet. Things look really odd. Now they're trying to do that. They pan like they're trying to have a screenshot of a person. And it's like, you're putting these into the scripts of the language models. A glance to this person, glance to that person. Notice that they really can't have an actual descriptive talking point. And yes, Minister Rick, that's exactly what I thought. The image of the beast. Yeah. Is it real or is it Memorex? Is this what that consciousness after death is going to look like? Which also makes us ask the question, so what did he got? That's the question. And now, also, you now have of talks of nuclear weapons actually being used by that settler nation. And the reason that that would even start to come up has simply, and this wasn't just me saying it, this was actually Times of India that had reported on this. It's Times of India. My question is always, you know, when, if this is being said, when do they plan on using it? Because now you literally had Japan saying that they're not going to send warships. You know, I'm with you, Pastor Rick Fletcher. I can't believe that that's the best video Mossad could create. Must have been a rush job. You know, I don't think that they're as advanced as what they say they are, at least in the graphic component. You right? Are they getting there? Probably. But are they there? No, not yet. Whatever, they have, whatever they think that they have, not really all that capable, just in my opinion. And yes, Brother Asaph, he says, I've heard that parts of the settler nation, looks like Ukraine and Gaza, people are deleting one another to get on flights to get out of there. Yes, they are. We've seen that on multiple channels. I've utilized over the past couple of days, up scrolled. So that is happening. And now things are being decimated with satellite communications and things of that nature. You even have supposedly uh, the USS Abraham Lincoln that had supposedly been hit a couple of times, not just one time, a couple of times. And here are some other serious miscalculations that could happen. We haven't even discussed the Houthis. So when they're talking about the pipeline from Dammam to Yanbu, it cuts from the Persian Gulf over to the Red Sea. Well, that will be under attack by the Houthis. So Bab al Mendeb, Suez Canal will all be under threat. Basically, all of the vital checkpoints will be targeted. Yeah, Will they run up this oil to $200 plus? Yes, they will. Yes, they will. And I say that not in a place of comfort. Nope. I got to survive this thing just like everybody else. Most high willing. And it doesn't matter how much they use the petroleum reserves and everything else. Every time you dip into that reserve, it takes more money. It's an emergency reserve, a national strategic emergency reserve. And I would say that to me, that's really the stupidest thing because why do that when that emergency happens here? So then we run out of the reserve, and then as soon as we run out of the reserve, then that will cause chaos and panic. Because the moment that they have to tell people to ration, it's not for us. We'll be okay. It's for them. You're telling me I got a ration? You're telling me this? Because why? Because they're actually being told that their kingdom of heaven here on earth, established under blood, their Habakkuk chapter 2 kingdom, the cursed nation. I'm not saying that. That's what the scriptures are saying. I'm giving you the scriptures. That as their judgment is here, you're telling me I need to get a voucher. I need to only do this or do that. I can't get barrels full of gas. Because remember, if you're telling them that they're being limited, oh yeah, absolutely. Do you think they actually gave Trump who 400 says, or 400 says? Do you think they actually gave Trump the key to the nuclear missile? Absolutely. You have to remember that there are people in the military that are hanging on to every single word of Trump. If you hadn't noticed, that they're fine with kicking off this holy war, especially in some of those junior leaders, junior officers, and mid-level officers. That will be, yeah, the 1970s rationing. That will be probably during the summertime because the reality is Trump is trying to, and not just Trump, but the US and the European allies, they're really trying to survive until summer. Because what will then end up happening is once people are out of school, then it can be a little more, they can be a little bit more flexible in how they do things and how they work things. Now, will they still continue to push with the Strait of Hormuz war plan? Absolutely. Absolutely, they will. But you have to remember, and I think we called it, just like everything else, when you are the bully, you're going to try to have and throw somebody in front of you. It's like the classics. It's the classic 1980s henchman. You can't make this up. It's the classic 1980s henchman. Let me throw this person in the way. So I could try to run up on out of here. The problem is with these nations, a lot of nations don't want to be thrown under the bus anymore. I'm not going to die for you. Well, think about it, NATO. Think about all the stuff that we've done for you, NATO. These Europeans are saying, we don't fight like this. We don't do stuff like this. They're actually getting a backbone. Uh-oh. Bullies can't operate when their henchmen get backbones. And here we are at this time where grow a backbone. He said this. He said, grow a backbone, get some guts. Go through the strait. How did that work last week? When those nations got some guts. How many tankers were blown up? Now they have to open up the International Energy Agency, opening up oil. Now that's the problem. Because it's one of those things, it's a double-edged sword. The more you use, then you have to plan for the more you put back. And on top of that, the more you use, the more that you have other sources going offline. So even though you're utilizing some things, it's still not supplementing all of the supply that's being lost. So you're utilizing your own supply to put a bandage on something that's bleeding out. That oil is bleeding out, and they can only give a bandage when they need major surgery. What is happening is that, in my opinion, Trump is going to try to continue to ensure that the people still have the game plan of the talking points and the rhetoric, while the other folks are either getting up on out of here or are ready to totally lock down the United States. And that's what's coming. In order to have a total lockdown of the United States, you still have to have local and state governmental powers. If not, it doesn't work. And you may not get it from all states. It may just be a regional cooperative. You've already seen how Trump was withholding different funds from Minnesota. Oh, on top of that, I guess what TPS for Somali citizens that ends tomorrow. Now, the issue, and I want to bring that on up. Sister Vanetta says, I heard on Shabbat, Europe, Canada, and Asian nations are negotiating directly with Iran for safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Oh, I think they're all negotiating. The problem is this, and you bring up a point that I wanted to make, because the problem is this. What happens when those nations are then trading in yuan and they get on out to either the Gulf of Oman or the Arabian Sea to try to navigate into the Indian Ocean or over into the Red Sea area? Well, I'm going to tell you what happens. Because they are negotiating and doing the transactions of petro outside of the dollar, that petroleum that's bought with the yuan, it will be targeted. Do you hear me? It will be targeted by the U.S. The U.S. will blow that up. The U.S. will blow it up. I know that's hard for people to understand that. The U.S. will blow that up. And then they'll blame it on Iran, naturally. See, they're not a good trading partner. See? So, all I know is this. The Strait of Hormuz closure, it's literally somebody getting that tight wire and literally choking someone to death. And this is the biggest squeeze that's on out there, and people have to wail and flail and do everything else that they really can't understand why people aren't helping them. Here's a good one. Let me see if I can share this. Because again, Trump wanted to have China help them on out. They're like, we're not going to do that. And now you have Now you have an air campaign being waged against Taiwan as we speak because that 31st MEU out of Japan was their primary response force to Taiwan. But here we go. This is from the New York Times. Nations respond with caution to Trump's call to send warships to Strait of Hormuz. President Trump has urged China, Britain, France, Japan, and South Korea to send warships to help reopen the waterway, even though they are not involved in the U.S. settler attack on Iran. This is from Ravi Matu in London. President Trump's call for some countries not involved in the U.S. settler attack on Iran to send ships to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz has received cautious responses. Mr. Trump named China, Britain, France, Japan, and South Korea in a social media post on Saturday, urging them to join in an effort to guard the waterway, a conduit for a fifth of the world's oil shipments. On Sunday, he warned that NATO faced a very bad future if members of the alliance did not help to open up the Strait of Hormuz, adding that Europe was more reliant on Middle Eastern oil than the United States. It's only appropriate that the people who are the beneficiaries of the strait will help to make sure that nothing bad happens there, he told the Financial Times. Yo, how does this sound to folks? Hey, yo, I done burnt down your house. I done burnt down your house. Because I used your house as a shield when I was fighting somebody else, and well, sorry. You need your house more than me. Go and fix it. Fix your house that I helped to burn down. Exactly, Cynthia. If you want some of this oil, you better help me. Man. Yeah, Brother Gar. Sounds like the mafia asking you to pay protection money from them. Yeah, it is. It is obvious manipulation. That man. Yo, I got into a fight. I rolled up to the house, got into a fight with the bully, shot at him with my pew pew. The bully shot back, and it messed up the car, which was your car, that I went over to the bully's house to start the fight. You need to fix your car. Come and fix your car. Come and fix your car. Bring the tow truck. This is the most ignorant mess I've ever heard. This is so ignorant. He said, please. He said, please. Pretty, please. Pretty, please. What did you do to my car? Well, look, me and my boy, we said we gonna fix this. So what happened was we were just going on over there for a friendly conversation. And then my main homeboy, he decided to start firing. And, I had to back him up. And yeah, we used your car. So if you want to get your car, you need to come over here too. Iliella, Hassalet, yeah. Now it's we need to fix this. Who is we? We don't need to do anything. You need to fix this problem. Bad things are going to happen. No, the only bad things that's going to happen is to y'all's crazy self. I was looking at a video. It was either Hindustan Times or Times of India. But they're asking Americans overseas, they said, who'd you vote for? Oh my goodness. They're not getting love being Americans. They're finding out. They're saying, who did you vote for? Uh-oh. Americans are about to start delineating. What type of American are you? Y'all better watch that Civil War movie before they censor that. My fellow Americans. My fellow Americans. Y'all better start to see. Because y'all don't understand when the going gets tough economically. Well, let's just say everybody's fighting. Do you think that all these generals and all these people that have retired or have resigned, do you think that they're just going to lay down lightly? No. Do you think that they're just going to probably say, oh, we're just going to wait and this? No, they're not. I can guarantee you they're in the background planning something. Now, that's one of the things I was going to talk about the other day. But I'm going to tell you this. They have that National Rapid Response Force because it's not for just the express purpose of civil war. It's also the plan of any type of a coup d'etat action. Yeah, we have to talk about it. I'm not it. So YouTube, you don't need to censor me because I'm good. I'm enjoying the show from my couch. I'm Isaiah 2620. You don't need to worry about me. You don't need to worry about us. We're just sitting here looking at something that our ancestors could only dream about. That our brothers and sisters on the continent are saying, hey, we need reparations. Obviously, we want to have a say so in that. Of course, I saw that comment earlier, Sean. Obviously, we want to be able to know, well, wait a second. We would need to obviously get that. But again, I'm going to tell you this. And it's hard for us to truly understand this. I know, I get it. But people still have to keep in mind you're in a multi-generational prison. I'm sorry, you are. That's like asking to get your money so you can have things on commissary. Brother, you realize you brother, sister, they'll be looking at you. Brother, sister, you realize that you are still in jail? And you want your money while you are in jail? I got my reparations, master. Here you go. Here you go. Good boy, Toby. Now you know we paid your reparations, so don't ask us anything ever again. I know what feels like a good idea may not necessarily be a good idea, especially when half of our people are literally still within Stockholm syndrome. It is. It's a real thing. It's a real psychological thing. We've been under 400 years of psychological abuse. You really think that we're going to be in the best position? No. You literally will have like a guardian ad litem appointed to you. Why? Because you have been under psychological abuse. Man, we have battered wife syndrome like crazy. Here you go. Give it back to the person that doesn't care about you. Because when they do that, then they're going to delete you and say, hey, we have just cause. See? There you go. The only reason that we can even have this conversation now and not a month ago or 2 months ago is because a lot of people, when they see that the house is on fire and they smell that smoke and they see that the bed is burning down, are you really going to stay in that house when the bed's burning down? Ah, I realized that they were trying to kill me. I can't stay here. One of the best movies on out there that you can see that really illustrates our people is Rosewood. And I bring that up for those, if you haven't seen it, you probably need to see it. Because I bring that up because that was a town. That town is about 2 hours north of me, right on the banks of the Suwannee River. Suwannee goes up into Georgia, Alabama. It had Esterol, it had Don Cheadle, and it had Ving Rhames. You know, my mom wasn't really the most like pro black, ultra black, things of that nature. But what my mom instilled into me was this: know your history and understand your history. Understand something, even if it feels uncomfortable. And at my age, I think I was about 14. It came out, I remember, January of like 97. And my mom had taken me there to see the movie. And this was interesting because this was the very first movie I watched when I moved out to Kansas City from New Jersey. And we didn't say much because, again, you're moving from the Northeast to the Midwest, and you have a community that you have a lot of white folks. And even in the movie theater, there are still a lot of white folks. So at that age, I was like, okay, well, let's take a look. I didn't know. I was just like, okay, well, we're just going to go to movies. So here you go. But I remember the movie. I remember the experience of just going to the movie with my mom to see that. You know, any other time when we would go to the movies, it would be like to see the blockbusters, like Jurassic Park and of course Independence Day. But we hadn't been to the movie since Independence Day. And I understand that. I understand why. That's when the neighbor's grandson had been uh, deleted at the mall when we were in that area. That has an effect, especially on the parent. That could be my children, things of that nature. My brother was older. He was about 15 at that time, getting ready to turn 16. But of course, afterwards, I have watched the movie several times. I dissected the movie several times. It resonates with me because I also do understand that that wasn't just an isolated incident, not even an isolated incident in Florida. That was an incident that would occur all throughout really Florida's history and the US's history. So don't get that twisted. For me, it was just telling and sobering because when you think about how our people still react and still respond and still will look at different things, it really is a deficiency that we have. And it's not that I'm blaming anyone. We can't blame ourselves. We're here as captors. You need to get it together. You need to do, we need to just be able to be truthful with ourselves for once in this captivity. You want to know why we're actually still here in this captivity? Because we have to be truthful to really be on our knees in our prayer closet and say, Father, we can't do anything without you. We can't do this without you. We can't. Even right now, we can't do anything apart from Yah. And we're now in a situationship. Don't feel bad. We want to be grown. We want to act grown. I know. We want to say, look, I don't want you to have my stuff in some sort of a custodial or custody or anything else. But sometimes if you don't know what's up, if you can't understand what you're going through, then you're going to literally put whatever resources right in the hands of the captor. And I also say this, and who's to even say that reparations is going to be in the form of an actual payment? Let's just be truthful. What can the dollar do for you right now when this dollar is literally crashing? Yeah, can you pay me my reparations, please? Yep. Everybody has $1 trillion on paper. Everybody's got $1 trillion. Now that loaf of bread is going to cost you about $500 billion. What? Oh, yeah, we gave you $1 trillion. Oh, yeah, but the problem is we don't really deal in currency like that anymore. We deal with everything in what? Digital currencies. So we still gave you money. Come on now. I think we have to really understand the system and how they play this game. They don't play this game with equity, with fairness. They play this game in the most diabolical terms ever. That's just how it goes. You ask for the money, then you are mad because we gave you dollars. All those dollars are worthless now. You see what I'm saying? How are you going to have a legitimate complaint on that one? Really? How can he complain? I would look at, in the case of reparations, that any type of corporation, Western corporation, anything affiliated, and even any non-African corporate entity no longer owns or operates or has a subsidiary that owns or operates within that space. And let me tell you this. I don't know if you all understand this, but this is a big one. This is a big deal. Goldman Sachs has a couple of mines over in the continent, especially over in Ghana. I don't know if you know this, but Ghana doesn't really control their gold like that. Ghana actually has to get permission. They have a gold mine near Kumasi that Goldman Sachs owns. Yes, that they have been mining for over 120 plus years. You didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that there's trillions of dollars of wealth that had been exported from Ghana just in gold, just in that area. Can you imagine that if non-African countries are no longer able to deal with minerals, do you know what that does to wealth? The concept of wealth? It flips wealth and the concept of wealth overnight. I know those are things that it's hard to imagine, and that's okay, because the reality is that it's hard to imagine because they did not want you to understand these concepts. They didn't. And yeah, do you not know who also gets messed up in that? Yeah, absolutely. China does get messed up. I want to share this tab. The reason I shared this was dedicated in 2004, a Florida heritage landmark. That's my son right there. And he was much younger, much younger. Oftentimes, when I'd go to see my mom, especially with my kids, I'll stop into Rosewood. Rosewood is actually right down the street from her. Because my mom lives in Gainesville. That's about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Just depends on that traffic from the the turnpike, Florida Turnpike. And so I'm going to read this. Haunted by what had happened, Rosewood residents took a vow of silence, lived in fear, and never returned to claim their property. That silence was broken 71 years later. In 1994, survivors, including Minnie Lee Langley, Arnett Turner Goins, and Wilson Hall, filed a claims bill in Florida legislature. A special master and expert appointed by the Speaker of the House ruled that the state had a moral obligation to compensate survivors for the loss of property, violation of constitutional rights, and mental anguish. On May 4th, 1994, Governor Lawton Childs signed a 2.1 million compensation bill. 9 survivors received 150,000 each for mental anguish, and a state university scholarship fund was established for the families of Rosewood and their descendants. A fund was also established to compensate those Rosewood families who could demonstrate property loss. This historic marker was dedicated by Governor Jeb Bush in 2004. So there it is. Now that's all fine and dandy. I was like, oh, that's nice. How, yeah, brother. Yeah, yeah, and they did. They actually set up a Apopka. And Apopka was a lot interesting too. Apopka is actually over in your Claremont area, Lake County. So they moved about a good, couple miles, well, about 70, 80 miles away. They were out more in your Orlando area. And yes, no, it was pennies. It was pennies on the dollar. Because think about that. That was 71 years later. And they say, when you actually roll into the city, that's just on, I think it's, what is it, Highway 24, I think. Highway 24. It's Florida Highway 24. But down the road a little bit is the actual city of Rosewood. And the folks that kicked them on out, they still live on the land. And you can clearly see it. It says no photos. If you take photos, they'll shoot at you. They'll shoot at you. Stay off of there. It's like a little dirt road. It's like it's private property. It's that it's owned by the families. It's there to this day. So imagine that you have the compensation or lack thereof. What do you think they're going to give you? Pennies. Yep, it is still clay streets. It is. And now we're starting to see, as they're beginning to crumble, this is not good timing for them. Or was it the timing that they always wanted? Hey, if we have these Negroes distracted, they can't see what's getting ready to happen on the 25th, March 25th, 2026. Oh, yeah, Ocoee. Look up Ocoee Massacre. I hate to. I'll share this with you. No, listen, I'm not playing hooky. This is spring break. I'm on spring break. Oh, let me share this. Because, when the word says, when I'm telling you about Habakkuk chapter 2, cursed is a nation that establishes itself by bloodshed. This is right here, a Ocoee survivor. This is from Fort Lauderdale magazine. Ocoee is actually in the Orlando metro area. So it's smashed between basically Orlando and Claremont. I think in Lake County. Julius July Perry is among the lynching victims memorialized at the National Museum for Peace and Justice in Montgomery, Alabama. So his name is in there. a lot of victims. For more than 80 years, Armstrong Hightower built a life in Fort Lauderdale, but it was one Central Florida town's most terror filled day that helped bring him here. This is in 2000. So when Hightower died in 2002 at the age of 94, he had lived for more than 80 years in Fort Lauderdale, but he wasn't born here. He came when still a child, driven out of his hometown by one of the most violent events in Jim Crow era Florida. See, they had Ocoee, and then they had Rosewood. Armstrong's Hightower's father, Valentine Hightower, first came to Ocoee, a town west of Orlando, near the eastern bank of Lake Apopka, with a man named Julius Perry, known as July. Perry would be at the center of what happened on Election Day in 1920. To understand what would become known as Ocoee Massacre, historians point to the time leading up to Election Day. Women, including African American women, had recently been given the right to vote across the South, where there were concerted efforts to register blacks to vote in the face of Jim Crow laws. Black soldiers returning from World War I were more vocal about no longer tolerating the second-class status imposed on them at home. On July Perry was a former soldier, according to Marvin Dunn's excellent book, A History of Florida Through Black Eyes. He was a successful businessman who owned property around Ocoee. His friend, Mose Norman, was a successful farmer. The pair also worked for voting rights for blacks in Central Florida. The mixture of success and activism undoubtedly made them targets. And I'm just going to let you know, and you could read that. I put that in there. It's amazing what happens when you have black folks that have served in the military and we become vocal, and some could say that this is activism. I'm an activist. I just do it digitally, and I do it in a more, I would say, a more nuanced fashion, because activism is through, honestly, humanitarian efforts. The best form of activism is to be a humanitarian. Clifford Possible, thank you for the gift. Hallelujah. Didn't see that earlier. But this was all during the time of, yes, this is all during the Red Summer time. And Red Summer didn't just happen one day, one summer. It happened over a course of a couple of years, because you had a lot of black men and black women that were standing up and being vocal, because look, our boys just came back from fighting over in this war. You needed us over in this war now. But now you don't want to give us our right. And they stood 10 toes down. They did. Because at that time, with not knowing much, because everything had been censored, you're going to go with what you know. And that's why, look, even right now, I tell you, still give our people grace, because they're going with what they know. And what they know is still quickly deteriorating. let me tell you how quickly this thing is deteriorating. I wish, it's sometimes it's kind of like, you're dealing with so much ignorance. And when you deal with so much ignorance, it's not even funny anymore. Let me show you this. Trump demands death penalty for reporters in unhinged war rant. This is from Cameron Adams from the Daily Beast. I have that link in the chat. President Donald Trump had spent Sunday calling for the death penalty for reporters covering his war in Iran in a negative manner. Trump, 79, has posted nearly a 400-word truth social post slamming Iran for feeding the very appreciative fake news media and even resorting to AI to spread false information. Doesn't that sound like, total deflection? I'm just saying, what is AI saying about, that other person? The president claimed Iran had circulated phony kamikaze boats shooting at various ships at sea and claimed that while they looked wonderful, powerful, and vicious, that these boats don't exist. Then why are these boats on fire? And it's not just from the fake news sources. I guess if there's other international sources, then that's fake news too. So now international sources are fake news. I'm just trying to make it make sense. Repeating his claim that the U.S. had defeated Iran's military and slamming the Wall Street Journal for false reporting, Trump then took his anger to new heights. The Journal on Saturday covered 5 U.S. military refueling planes that were hit by Iranian forces at Saudi air base, but were not totally destroyed. He claimed Iran sprayed a fake image of the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier burning uncontrollably in the ocean, claiming it was not burning and also not shot at. Trump ranted the story was knowingly fake in a certain way. You could say that those media outlets that generated it should be brought up on charges for treason for the dissemination of false information. And again, this is a breaking news story and will be updated. Well, see, when you have stories like that, when you have things like that, what do you think the allies see? Excuse me. This is right now, this is dictatorship talk. I'm not saying it, he's saying it. No, look, this is their savior. He's not going anywhere. That's not the script. The script is he's going to stay there, and they're going to try to see who's going to fall in line. The reality is that we know how they work. We know how they operate. I'll take things a dictator would say for 100, Alex. Because the reality is they're not going to do or say anything until the prices at the grocery stores are insurmountable, until the gas prices, they are no longer able to drive. But my livelihood, you know what? I've already made peace. I said, Father, if you want me to drive, you're going to have me drive. If not, then I'm going to sit here. But guess what? I know I won't be the only one just sitting here. Okay. Pastor Rick, don't even joke about that. They're going to be saying, what are y'all doing? Let's see what happened was. We've been asked to be evangelists over in Ghana, and we leave tomorrow. That's it. Look, we don't mind just okay. Oh my goodness. We need to be on government cheese and crackers. Then we're gonna be on government cheese and crackers. We're gonna make it. Okay. But here's the thing. We know as a people, we're not the only ones. You know what that does? That actually brings us together as a people. You know what times like this does for them? It breaks them. Because that used to, let me tell you how this worked. It would be, oh, don't you want to help this nation out? Don't you think we should all come together? And we would be like, yeah, uh-huh, okay, yeah, we need to come together. You're right. All right, let's do this. And then they would try to suck off our energy. Yeah, we got them Negroes. Get the energy vampires on in there. Yeah, we got these Negroes. You know what's happening right now? That whole shouldn't we come together talk? We're like, we're going back inside. Let me see how my cousin's doing. Let me see how my brother's doing. We start to talk. We start to move. And here's the thing. We start to do all this stuff with literally zero resources. But we plan with zero resources. But we do with zero resources. How are you Negroes able to do that? How are you Negroes able to send out a shipping containers? How are you Negroes trying to ask for funds for this hospital project? Yahuwah, he blesses the works of our hands. Did it say that Yahuwah blesses the finances of our hands? No, the works. Our operation isn't hey, we get the money and then we plan. No, it's not. That doesn't happen for our people. Our operation is we plan, and then as we plan, we went on the Most High to provide. That's it. That's why when we do things, it does not make sense to them. Wait, you don't have anything in your hand? No, we don't. But guess what? We have land development planning. We have hospital planning. We're now planning for education and other things as we begin to work through this plan. What? Do you even have any money? Oh man, yeah, you're right. Well, I guess the plans are done. Sorry, everyone. No, I'm doing this because my Elohim told me to. Yahuwah is his name. Through his son Yahushua HaMashiach. I'm doing this because the Ruach HaKodesh is instructing me to move, to do, to this. You have to walk by faith. We knew something big was getting ready to happen. We had to walk by faith. Nobody in here would have gotten that plan. You want to know why? Because Trump was literally getting rid of either firing or having black folks, black generals retiring, resigning. No one was supposed to get that plan. No one was supposed to be able to plan in advance. We were planning at least 9 months in advance. We didn't know what we were planning for. Y'all remember in about, it'll be a year coming up. A year coming up. In about 2 weeks, I had said, yep, we need to get this container moving. We were asking for 60,000. Oh, I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if we can, and I was getting folks that getting a lot of naysayers. I said, no, in my spirit, we need to get this thing moving. And then you all realize 6 months later, that container was on the ground in Burkina Faso. That's the things that opened up the doors. That shouldn't have happened. Us Negroes shouldn't have done stuff like that. Because why? Because it's a constant effort to keep funds out of our hands. Because why? Because these funds aren't wealth. These funds are debt. This money isn't money. This money is actually debt to keep you indebted. This is the instrument of what? Of the wicked. Oh, you want that money, huh? You want to do those strange things for change? Doing some strange things for change. Oh, my goodness. We would laugh about that, but let me tell you, now you see what they do. It's in their files. I want all the power in the world. Well, what are you going to do for it? Man, you now know what the true definition of a sellout is. Sorry. Now you know what happens when you gain the whole world, but then you lose your soul And now you're starting to see very, very soulless monsters in charge. And I don't know how else you want to describe it. You take that blood covenant, oh yeah. That thing is really a blood covenant. You drinking somebody else's blood. It ain't pig blood. It ain't cow blood. And that literally disgusts me that we're having a talk about this right now. And even when they had their money, quote unquote money, there were certain parameters of what they could do with their money. Because if you try to help on their contract, then you get yourself deleted. Can anybody say Michael Jackson, Nipsey Hussle? And the list goes on and on and on. What does the word say? Better to be poor and righteous than to have wealth and be wicked. Yeah, Prince too. Yep. I don't know. I don't have any sympathy for this system going down. I don't. But what I do say is I have sympathy for our people that will be affected in the system going down. That's the only thing that I can say. Hey, listen, we don't want our people to be affected by the calamity. We really don't. But there are now clear instructions of what we need to do and how we navigate through this time. Especially right now, look, airline ticket prices have doubled. Gas costs are continuing to rise and rise. So you already know this transportation piece, this is now forcing us. It's forcing us in our hard headed situation to do, especially for our brothers and sisters that have heard from us, that have heard what we said, and that have hardened their hearts. Those years ago when we first told our family members, hey, we're the people, get out of here, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. That we first said, hey, listen, something's happened. You're a fool, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. This is now a situation where they can't run from. Look, the Most High was walking people down. And now at this time, I'm going to tell you this. It's not the fact of the transportation. Okay. It's not the fact of the energy. Okay. But when you're in want and need of all things, especially when people don't know where that next meal is coming from, especially when our people cry out because things are going to be so tightened. The screws are getting tightened. How are we going to survive? How are we going to do this? Trust Yahuwah. Because these screws are going to get tightened. Trust Yahuwah. But. See, that narrative, that playbook that Trump's using, that they're all trying to use. Hey, we have all this, we have all that, we're doing all this, we're doing all that. It's not working. And because it's not working, it's going to get crazier and crazier. We know that, and I know, listen, at this time, a lot of them are starting to realize this. You're now going to see them rethinking everything. Everything. But rest assured, as this time is starting to close on out, all will be revealed. It's actually, it's a hope, it's a peace. It's a hope and it's a peace because the reality is really, um, we know what happens after this time of judgment. We understand what happens. So we know that we're in this season just for a little while. Just for a little while. I don't know how long that little while will be. I had some thoughts I was discussing yesterday, but I'm going to tell you this. Um, when these markets get set to open in another couple of minutes, things are going to start looking really crazy because a lot of different promises and things of that nature. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And Iran now is not playing the game. Y'all realize there was a game to this, right? The whole gaming strategy. Hey, well, if you do this, just don't do this on the weekday because then it won't just affect us. It'll affect your money too. See? Okay? Because if we get affected, your money's going to get affected. Okay? And they'll affect your money too. See? They're not playing that game anymore. Think this is about money? I don't care about money. You think it's about gold? I don't care about gold. So, as the saying goes, it ain't over till it's over. And how many times have we heard that? Oh, the Strait of Hormuz is open, it's closed. Look, you know, it's real interesting when they can't even get their lies straight. And now they want to go after journalists because they can't, because they're making them look bad. Fake news making them look bad. Look, whatever script they're playing, let them play that. As for me and my house, we will continue to serve Yah. That's it. No more, no less. But yes, family, we are seeing their pride, their vanity being put on full display. Again, I don't know if if and who is going to come to the rescue. With everything. I look, people on social media, I'm looking at these posts right now. And I wanted to, before I go, give me about 15 more minutes before I go on, for this rant. If you can give me about another 15 more minutes. We were talking about the image of the beast, right? I'll put this on up here. And this is on X. This is someone's post on X. They're doing a commentary of, the coffee and, even how the coffee and let me just do this because
so you may notice at the bottom.
Let me do this. I'm gonna probably get a copyright this because yeah, because of the music. So I'll still share it. Let me share this. All right, here we go.
We are officially at the dawn of a new age where you will not know what's real, what's fake. They'll say the fake things are real and the real things are fake. I warned of this moment coming 3 years ago. First off, it's really weird that so many socials are glitching right now, especially to post and to put videos up. Wonder why that is. A lot of controversy over the video that just got released, allegedly by BB himself, and also photos. Let's dive into this, whether it's real or not. And then after, the implications of this. So you may notice at the bottom I have that it's AI, and that's because us creators, we will get in trouble if we don't label things AI if they're AI. And about this video that BB himself posted, every single artificial intelligence thing is all claiming that it's artificial. Even Grok and a whole bunch of other AI chats are all saying that the video is artificial. I wonder why that would be. Also, the coffee shop that he is at right here is closed because of the conflict going on with Iran. Shut up. Much like the last video, I showed you guys that a whole bunch of different detectors all said it was AI. They had a security defense meeting, and he's always at these, and he was not there. Now, his son has also not tweeted on Twitter in like 6 days now, and he usually tweets like 100 times a day. Now, of course, we have the coffee not spilling, when he's drinking it. We have his head looking massively different than, his head last time we saw him. He also has a new technological auto flapper pocket, which captures and releases his hand. I think that's just pretty cool. I'm not saying that they took him out, but tell me, what's up with all the AI footage? By the way, keep tab of all the talking head accounts.
Okay. Things that make you go, Yeah, he was real orangish, wasn't he? It was weird. This is really weird. But it's not unexpected. And this is what is a lot of these things that's happening. To me, look, I'm just another talking head on the YouTube. But I'm a talking head that knows and has seen and has understood, even being stationed on active duty at CENTCOM for years. That when they're going through with this, this is the last. This is it. And this is somebody saying, in any case, Iran's foreign minister has repeatedly or exposed the lies of the U.S. and the settlers. Iran is unwilling to accept this ceasefire. The reason is that the U.S. and settlers are imposing arbitrary conditions that are not good for Iran's future. So basically, look, they're going to continue to ask for a ceasefire every single day, hour, second this thing goes. It hurts the U.S. and it hurts the world. And yes, America will never recover from this. It's downhill from it is downhill from here. It is. America cannot recover from this. It's done. It essentially it's self-deleted. Hate to say it, it's self-deleted. My question is, what is it that, what was the main trigger point of that self-deletion? That's going to be my question. I would like to know why, but they won't want to tell us why because, of course, that won't fit into their narrative. Are we closer than we think to being out of captivity? Are we closer than we know? Now, sorry again. Let me go back to this. Okay, so let this let's just put this into perspective. In the event that that settler nation's prime minister were to be deleted, that would throw the Christian nationalists, the Zionists, into a state of confusion. They would be in panic. So they're just going to do what they continue to do. It'll be the lie, the lie, the lie, and then it would be so obvious. See, you got to remember this. Understand what the Most High is doing, and He's doing this skillfully. For a people that are not who they say they are, they'll take that lie with them to the grave. That's not that's not an easy thing for them, or no, excuse me, that's not a hard thing for them. It's just it's not. But now, it's the people that see that lie. They're going to have to reconcile that, and when they reconcile that lie, then they'll have to ask themselves, "Man, what is it? What else did we get lied to about?" Now, will that be something of our concern? Not really, but they'll be very, very concerned because, again, that exposes their whole system. That to me is really the Jeremiah 16:19 moment. See, they've been living in the Zechariah 11:5 moment. Hey, we're rich. But now all of a sudden they're not saying that anymore because there's truly consequences when you're going to have the UN on March 25th, the UN get the formal resolution by Ghana regarding the transatlantic slave trade. That will be a true sucker punch. Now, here's the thing. I think the timing is impeccable because you have to also understand how long will they ride the lie out. This is the beginning of their judgment. And we had said this a while ago. This is the beginning of their judgment. We had already judged them. We did. You want to know when we did that and why we did that? We judged them when we said we're done with it. You realize that that was the scariest moment for them. When black folks said, yeah, just leave us alone. Oh, no, that's going to be here in New York or in the U.S., New York. Yeah, we were done. We were done. And that was something that I'm, that was spiritual. That was the first time we had been on one accord. You done? Yeah, I'm done. You done? Yeah, I'm done. You're not going to go and protest with us? No. But this is your nation. This is your country, right? They like to throw that in there. All of their straw man arguments. Nobody was even feeling that. It's like, all right, just leave us alone. And whatever this thing, however this goes, even to right now, you realize that even till right now, black folks have been online just pleading to the Iranians. They said, look, when you come to destroy this place, just leave us out of here. Give us a heads up. The ASAS says, there is no statutes of limitation laws in any European country blocking reparations for slavery in the United States or Europe, which leaves them vulnerable on their books. Yeah. The funny thing is, Iran actually has a claim to reparations. But what will make the case, what you'll have to hear from Ghana, what you'll have to hear from Ghana in this reparations case is that they'll have to state and utilize the dumb diverses. Hey, we were targeted people. Via who? Via Rome. Uh-oh. See, when you put that on out there, that hits the bullseye. Hits square right between the eyes. You're not supposed to say that. See, what then would happen from there, you would then have a quick polarization because it will be all of the anti-Western, anti-European countries saying, yep, it's time for you all to pay. You need to do it now. You need to figure it all out now. Because then what does that also give the impetus for Africa, especially Africans and Africa? We need to shut down our stuff. Shut it all down. Well, you're going to leave Europe alone? Yeah. Sorry, the future is Asia. Until you all figure it on out, until you all can come up with that payment, until you all understand these new terms. But how can we pay you reparations when you literally control all the wealth? Oh, okay. Here we go. I was waiting for you all to say that. We need you all to bring back home our brothers and sisters. Do you know 6 months ago, I was out there in Ghana. And that's where they were saying, we want you to come back. We want you back home. It was never a question of if we'd come back home. The question was always when we'd come back home. But see, I look at it like this. Things have to get more desperate for us. So then we're literally calling out to the Most High for him to rescue us. I don't care who you have rescue us. We just need to be rescued. We need help. That's what he's waiting on. Because why? Because our people are so stiff-necked. Nah, you're there, not yet. Not quite, not quite. Here's this. Oh, you still want to be stiff-necked? Here's that. See, the Most High is going to break us. Because it's now, this is the ultimate discipline. I'm sorry. This is the ultimate discipline right now. Will our people that are in all of these different crazy things and crazy philosophies and crazy thought processes, what will they say when they could say all that craziness until they're not able to eat, until what they're eating is rationed? Because again, y'all have to understand, China still requires its contract, its resources, its contract, them soybeans, them corn, that corn. I don't care if the yield is low. You better pay or you're not going to get any money. The U.S. became a vassal of China. Now, could the U.S. say, no, we're not going to pay that, or we need to get more tariffs and blah, blah, blah? They absolutely could. But remember, I don't know if you saw some of these articles, but China is encircling Taiwan. And we don't know if it's an exercise or not. You want some of these chips for your supercomputer processing, your AI, your data centers? We told you, look, it's going to come to the point of time that if you want to survive, your people are going to have to go into the matrix. And people laughed. People thought that was crazy until you realize and you see what's happening. Global food insecurity because of the Strait of Hormuz closure. Now, all of a sudden, not just global food, but now medicines. And other items that affect our livelihood. So if you have a major religious component to this, suffering a cataclysmic defeat, you can't stay very long, because then we will be on the targets. We will be in the crosshairs. Now you're going to have your Stevens from Django talk about, Master, I love you. I'm not going nowhere. Look, there's going to be the onesies or twosies that we can't do anything about. It always happens. For everyone else, hey, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you can't find any fault here with the Yahudin. You're not going to be able to find any fault here with us, because at the end of the day, we told you the truth. At the end of the day, we explained to you all what was getting ready to happen. You may not have liked it. You detested it. And I know that you all hated us, but here's the thing. We can't do anything to you all. You all did this to yourselves. This was your self-inflicted wound. You fell for the trap. You fell for it. I'm sorry you felt for it, but if you had listened, I don't even think it would have mattered. Just like our ancestors in the past. Understand, again, as I was saying, this all comes at a cost. And some of our ancestors that spoke out, they got met with an end. Julius Perry. Not only did they hang people over in Rosewood, but they're lighting people on fire. Ocoee, you had massacres. Now, I'm not on out here trying to fight for the right to vote or any other this or that. I'm actually here to warn our people something very quite simple. This is the time of their judgment. This is the time of their visitation. Yeah, I wonder where the urban apologists are right now. That they're crickets now. Well, they were the useful puppets for what they were used for. Doesn't feel very good when you get used for an agenda. Ask Christy Nome. Ask Omarosa. But hey, y'all already knew where this thing was going to go. You already knew that this thing was going to be stupid when they had no type of black person up in the cabinet. Oh, here we go. And here's the thing. I'm so happy that none of us had served on their in their cabinet. I am so happy. Wait, y'all said that you are not violent and that you have the highest IQ? But then they didn't think about all of these other secondary factors, secondary, secondary, tertiary issues. That L, your absolute selves. When white supremacy goes wrong, the start of World War III. And the U.S. has to be very, very careful because, again, they were having all of these different things about high IQ this and all of these slanderous white supremacist statements. And they have to realize that most of their allies, besides Europe is still very small, but most of their allies are non Caucasian. So, how dumb do you have to be to disenfranchise people? Oh, they're just tokens, they're just snowflakes. We're gonna say whatever, and they'll just say, yes, I'm boss. But they forgot. These nations aren't living under a curse, or the curse is. They forgot. See, now all of a sudden they're going to remember who they actually have. It said this, it said, in the latter day, in that latter time, then shall they consider. Why? What's that latter time? At their very end, when this nation dies. At the deathbed of this nation, they're going to actually realize, oh, snap. Dang, those were the people. Then that last breath. And yes, brother Eric, that American exceptionalism was because we would look at things. Oh yeah, DC Romeo. Um, yeah, that came through with Japan earlier. Japan earlier had basically said, no, and so did China. I'll just put. I'll show Hal Turner. Let me just put that link in the chat. because that is pretty funny. Not only did they say no, I'll show you the Tal Turner. It says U.S. asked for naval help with opening Strait of Hormuz. Allies say no. Donald Trump asked the world to join in a multinational naval coalition to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Italy rejected. Spain rejected. Japan rejected. France hesitant, but they'll reject. Norway rejected. Canada rejected. Australia rejected. Germany rejected. China, no response. They're like, you came here with that nonsense. You know we're on the other side, right? Why are we going to be fighting ourselves? UK, no commitment. Netherlands, no response. South Korea, no confirmation. They're like, you know, we can't do anything. We got Rocket Man north of us. We got Kim Jong-un on our back. They're saying this was a test and they failed. No, I don't think that they failed. I think that, yes, this was a test. And to be quite honest, why are you going to fight somebody's war that they went into illegally? That's the stupidest thing ever. What they say no to drugs. Look, I don't know what y'all be smoking or sniffing up there in the White House, but now we ain't on that. We ain't on that like that. Nah, you got the wrong one. Whatever you have may work for Zelensky. Whatever you have, Zelensky may be okay with it, but nah, not I. My. Interesting. Just say no. Say no to drugs. Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do for Somalia. France says, okay, Kenya better watch out. Somalia better watch out, teaming up with those folks. You know, all this geopolitical. Yeah, they need to bring back Dare. Bring back Dare to the White House. Get them people off of them drugs because they can't. Listen, the CIA should have told them not to get high on their own supply. Keep them out of the evidence locker. I'm gonna go down to Langley and keep an eye on these folks. Tell me where you keep all those drugs. I just want to make sure that I can see how my supply. I mean, you know, our evidence is. I gotta. Just send me a couple kilos. I gotta test the quality. I gotta make sure that we're killing these drug dealers. They're not bringing in good quality. They better not. They better not cut any of this. they said they make the White House really the real White House. I got kilos in the White House. I cut them large. I cut them thick. Oh my goodness. Look, you know that's why Trump moved down to Miami. He wanted to be trying to stay alive on 95. He said I'm the real Rick Ross. Push it to the limit. Man, it's not funny, but it is funny because when I didn't know the buy or one of the a symptom, a byproduct or a symptom of the use of drugs, particularly they said cocaine, was that you don't know how to control your bowels. It actually messes with that nerve or the part of the brain that provides that self-regulatory response. And if that's the case, then the question I always have to ask myself, I'm like, well, when did he ever stop using drugs? I mean, I'm sorry, but people have to ask that question. So these are certainly some of the things that is going on. You would think, look, Brother Sean, you would think that they would have increased security in Florida. No, they increased security in Florida. You know that this is spring break time. That's why I'm even off right now this week. They got to get people. They got to get people on down here spending money. False flags. That's what they said. What false flags? It's spring break time. Go on out to Arizona. Go on out to Texas. Go to Florida. So what a day. What a time that we're living in. That's all I can say. What a time that we're living in. What a time to be alive. And now, yeah, you do have now US soldiers, saying that they would rather take the discharge. Well, we'll see. We'll pray for our people. I do have to say there was one of our folks that had perished. So we pray for their family for that loss. He was on the refueler that had gone down. So we shall see. Oh boy, a lot of stuff going on in the news, family. But we'll see. With that, thank you all for again your prayers and your support. Appreciate it. You can support this channel by $COVAWK1 or PayPal or Zelle at heresy@msn.com. Thank you all for spending time tolerating me. That's my little news channel. I say it's news because this news is constantly changing right now. Look, we've gone through the scriptural analysis. Now it is now we're just here. Now we're at that time. So with that said, family, let me get up on out of here. Y'all should see me tomorrow. I'm trying to see if I'm gonna be, on at 6:30 or again 7:30. I'll try to do 6:30. I'll try to continue to stick with my schedule to not confuse anyone, especially for my folks over in Europe. So So with that said, I got to get up on out of here. You all be blessed. And take the name of Yahusha with you wherever you go. You cannot survive this world literally right now without knowing Yah through his son, Yahusha HaMashiach. This is where we're at this time. Hallelujah. So with that being said, family, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom, peace and blessings. Yasharel.